All right, everybody, what's going on? Y'all, welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide, C. Wells, coming at you. And today we're going to talk about the games, basketball games that will be taking place on Wednesday, January 5th. We're going to do a little preview of those, and then next Wednesday, we'll recap the games that took place on Monday, and Sunday we'll recap the games that took place on Wednesday. Also, Wednesday, we'll start to preview some of the games that will take place next Saturday. So, it's going to be a preview and review type of thing put in one for basketball. So, we're not going to be super in depth in these games. We're just going to kind of go over them, and we're going to have a featured game of the day that we'll spend a little bit more time talking about. So, with that being said, you can check out the socials that are scrolling on the screen down below. You can hit the Cash App if you want to make a donation to the show, $ Swag Talk. Feel free to do that if you like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Like the video, share them, and hit that notification bell to be alerted to any content that I drop that's outside of the usual schedule. I.e., if whenever Prairie View makes a football coach hire, we'll talk about that. So let's not waste any time, man. Let's go ahead and jump directly into this. We're going to talk about these games that are going to take place on January 5th, which is Wednesday. As we said before, if you don't aren't aware, SWAC uses a travel partner system where they pair two teams together, and both of those teams will play on the road against another set of two teams, or they'll play at home against another set of two teams. So in this case, um, the travel partners, I'll just break them down for you in case you don't know. Prairie View and Texas Southern, one set of travel partners. Grambling and Southern, another set of travel partners. Jackson State and Alcorn are paired together. Previous seasons, Grambling and Jackson were paired together, and Southern and Alcorn were paired together, but now they switched and put the two Louisiana schools together, two Mississippi schools together. Valley and Pine Bluff are paired together. UAPB and Alabama State and Alabama A&M are paired together, and the Florida schools A&M and Bethune-Cookman are paired together now. So it's a round robin system. So with Saturday's games, the your opponents will switch. So this week you'll see Alabama A&M going to Mississippi Valley. UAPB will host Alabama State. Grambling will host Texas Southern, and Southern will host Prairie View. Alcorn and Jackson played on Monday, so they don't play again till Saturday. Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M played on Monday. They won't play again until they play on Saturday against a different set of opponents. So with all that out the way, our featured game this week is today for Wednesday is Southern hosting Prairie View in women's basketball. And this series kind of has a little bit of an edge to it. Prairie View's women's basketball team is coached by Sandy Pugh, who was the longtime Southern University basketball coach and AD for a little while. So, there's always going to be a little bit of an edge there between this matchup. It's not always a high ranking matchup, but it's one that can always have a little bit of an edge because you have a former coach against a former team, and the staff that she put together pretty much is on the southern side. So it's always a little bit of extra oomph there. So these two teams, they match up fairly well at times. Sometimes, Prairie View's women's team is not always at the top half of the division, but they can be a uh, dangerous opponent. So we'll talk about this game first. Um, the Lady Panthers are coming into this game at 3-8 on the season. They're averaging 62.6 points per game. They are allowing 76.9. That's a point differential of minus 14.3. So they're have a negative point differential. They're shooting 22%. They're shooting 32% from the field, and they are making 22.8 field goals per game. The opponents are shooting 43%, and they are making 27.1 field goals per game. So their shooting percentage is not good, obviously, from the field. But they're allowing a fairly decent shooting percentage, so they're not playing the best defense right now. 3 pointers, they're making 30% from 3 point range. They make an average of 6.2 threes per game. The opponent's shooting 32%, 6.5 threes per game. So that 3 point defense is a little bit better than their defense on inside the 3 point arc. So they play fairly decent defense on the perimeter. They shoot okay from perimeter. They're shooting 64% from the free throw line, shooting an average of 10.8 free throws per game. The opponent 61%, 16.2 free throws per game. So they send their opponents to the line a lot. They foul quite a bit. Rebounding, they average 39.9 rebounds per game. The opponent's 47.4. They're getting out rebounded per game by average of 7.5 rebounds per game. Assists 15.1 per game for the Panthers and 16.7 for the opponents. Prairie View has 18 and a half turnovers per game. They're forcing 20.1 turnovers, so they have a positive turnover margin, 1.6. So they're doing a good job of forcing turnovers. And they're playing a very tough schedule in a non-conference. So to play a schedule like that and force a good bit of turnover, that's something to really at least put a feather in your cap. That's you're playing fairly good defense and you're forcing turnovers. They're averaging 19 points off of turnovers. The opponent's 18.6. They average 10 steals per game, 10.7. So they're getting their hands on the ball. They're playing good defense. They wish if you can get the ball up the court and score, then you can be pretty successful. But they're doing a good job of forcing turnovers, which helps at least keep you in games. They opponents have 7.7 steals per game. Blocks, they're averaging 4.5 with 4.1 blocks per game. They're doing a good job of protecting the rim, and the opponents three blocks per game. So they defensively, they're a pretty solid defensive team, considering what they've done so far. And a lot of these numbers will change quite drastically once we get into conference play. Their leading scorer right now is Diana Rosenthal. She's averaging 12 points per game. Geraldine Smith, 10.7. Kennedy Paul, 10.2. Barbara Benson, 5.9. Curtis Clark, 5.6. Kennedy Hurd, 5.5. So they have a fairly balanced attack. They have three scores in double digits. So that means that any given night, when either one of these ladies can hurt you, they don't necessarily have a big time score. So they get it done in a balanced way. The leading shooter from the field is Geraldine Smith. She's shooting 40%. Trinity Hudson is also shooting 40%. Looking at some people with some higher field goal attempts. Diana Rosenthal shooting 36%. Kennedy Paul 36%. Jelia Harper 33%. Kennedy Hurd 32%. Brittany Garner 31%. The leading three-point shooter right now is Diana Rosenthal. She's 19 of 50. That gives her a 38% mark. Kennedy Paul 37%. Geraldine Smith 36%. Jessica Sodders 33%, and Kennedy Hurd 30%. Free throws, the leading free throw shooter right now is Kennedy Hurd. She's 81% from the line, followed by Brittany Garner 80%, Kennedy Paul 68%, Rosenthal 67%, Smith 66%, and Benson 63%. The leading rebounder on the season right now is Geraldine Smith. She's averaging 7.4 rebounds per game. Kennedy Hurd leads the team in offensive rebounds with 2.1, so you got to keep an eye on her. If she's in the game and they miss shots, they got a good opportunity to get an offensive board there. Rosenthal, 4.5 rebounds per game. Paul, 3.7. Sodders, 3.5. Harper, 3.3. Assists, Emily Rosario is averaging 3.3 assists per game, followed by Hurd with 2.1. Clark, 1.9. Rosenthal and Sodders, 1.6. Steals, Rosenthal, 2.1. Rosario, 2 steals per game. Clark, 1.5. And Benson, 1.4. Blocks, Brittany Garner has 1 block per game. She leads the team with that. So this is a team that you gotta, they're gonna play good defense. They're gonna get their hands on the basketball, and they're gonna really go out and be scrappy. They're not the best shooting team, especially not right now. So we'll see if that improves with them as the season goes on. If they can shoot the ball better in conference play, because right now they're not shooting great. And like I said, they have a 3-8 record, so they played a fairly tough schedule coming into the game. So they're going to be a tough opponent, especially at home. I think most SWAC teams are pretty tough at home, so you really want to be able to win these kind of games. If you're Southern, you want to win, try to win. I mean, you want to win every game. Don't get me wrong, but you want to try to play your best ball at home and win as many home games as you can, because going on the road in the SWAC is always tough, no matter who you play. So you want to have your most success at home and steal some games on the road to give yourself the opportunity to play at home in the first round of the tournament. Southern is going to be a team that they're going to be they're going to really be a team that's always going to kind of be in the mix of things in the conference. You can look for them to come out and they don't score a lot of points right now. They're only scoring 49 points per game. They're allowing 72 points per game. They're 2-9 on the season. But this team, I've seen them play. They play pretty good defense. I know that 72 points per game is a mark, and some of these numbers aren't going to be great, but they are a better defensive team sometimes than their numbers show. But offensively, they're not scoring a lot of points. 49.2. They're shooting 31% from the field. They're shooting 20% from three. That's definitely going to be an Achilles heel for this team. If their shooting doesn't improve, then this season would not go well for them. They're shooting 69% from the free throw line. The opponents are shooting 47% from the field, 33% from three, and 74% from the line. So just looking at some of the averages per game, Southern's averaging 19 field goals per game. They're averaging 3.6 threes per game. So they don't even shoot that. They don't even make that many threes. So they are just not a good 3-point shooting team. They shot 172 threes in this time period, but they've only made 36. So they're not shooting the ball well at all from three. They're shooting 17 threes per game and only making three. That's not good. Free throws, 77.6 free throws per game. The opponents are shooting 24.4 free throw field goals per game and 6 threes per game, 17 and a half free throws per game. So they're sending opponents to the line quite a bit. They're fouling way too much right now. Rebounding, they're not strong on the boards at this point. 41.1 rebounds per game for the opponents. Southern 28.4. They're getting out rebounded by an average of 12.7 per game. Assists 6.2 per game for Southern, 15.3. Again, I'm obviously I'm throwing a lot of curves in this for this preview, but I think that this team will improve as the season goes on. Right now, they're not looking very good when you go through the numbers. 17.4 turnovers per game for Southern, 20.2 for the opponent. So that's one positive factor that they have. They're forcing more turnovers, although they do turn the ball over quite a bit. They have a 2.8 turnover margin. They're averaging 9 steals per game, 9.8, and they have 7.3 steals allowed to the opponent. So they can get their hands on the ball and force some turnovers, but they aren't capitalizing on offense when they have possessions, and that's what's hurting this team. They have 1.8 blocks per game. The opponent's 2.7. They're averaging 15 points off of turnovers. The opponents are averaging 17.5. So even with fewer turnover opportunities, the opponents are scoring more points off of turnovers, and that goes back to Southern's poor shooting this season. If this team is to improve, the shooting has to obviously get better. This is this you cannot play like this week in and week out in conference, or you're gonna find yourself sitting at home in February, late February, and early March. Southern is led by Jovia Johnson. She's averaging 9 points per game. Southern does not have a double-digit score right now. Johnson, 9 points per game. Kayla Watson, 8.3. Amani McWayne, 8 points per game. Aaliyah Fontenot, 7.7. Nakia Kinsey, 5.2. Diamond Hunter, 4.9. Chloe Fleming, 3.4. Raven White, 3.1. So they don't have they don't have a true score. This team doesn't have a double-digit score. They have a bunch of people who are bunched together, between 9 and 4.5 points. So again, this is the kind of team that you don't know who's gonna step up game in and game out. That's something that you hope is gonna improve for this team, that they're gonna shoot better. Somebody's gonna take the lead in scoring. These kind of teams that can be dangerous in tournament play because you don't know who to game plan for. You don't know who is going to be the person to step up that night, or it could be the team that is a first round exit because they don't have somebody at this point who can take the lead and just say, "Follow me, guys, get on my back. I'm gonna get the buckets that we need." So until that person emerges, this Southern team is going to always be in that mid level of the conference at this point. So that's something that to keep an eye out on this team. Right now, the leading shooter from the field is looking at Raven White. She's shooting 46%. Zaria Harlow, 42%. Diamond Hunter, 36%. Kayla Watson, 34%. McWayne, 34%. Fontenot, 32%. Fleming, 31%. Monroe, 30%. Three-point shooting, Fontenot, 30%. Hunter, 28%. Akins, 26%. Free throws, 77% for Fontenot, 75% for Hunter, 73% for Johnson. Fleming, 66%. And Watson, 64%. Monroe, 60%. Leading rebounder on the team right now is Kinsey. She's averaging 3.3 rebounds per game. Again, like I said, this team doesn't rebound very well at this point. Monroe, 3 rebounds per game. Hunter, 2.9. 2.7 for McWayne. 2.5 for Harrison and Johnson. Also, Watson and White each also have 2.5 rebounds per game. Offensive rebounding, Harrison is the leader. Offensive rebounder with 1.5 offensive rebounds per game. Assists, Fontenot, Fleming, and Kinsey all have 1 assist per game. Team doesn't get very many assists. They don't score very many points, so they don't get a lot of assists at this point. Kinsey, Fontenot, Johnson, Fleming, and Watson each have at least 1 steal per game. And blocks, they're led by Lidge with zero point 0.6 blocks per game. So a lot of these numbers aren't great, and that's one of the things that this team is going to have to improve on. Um, as the season goes on, they're gonna have to find some offensive consistency. They're gonna have to score the ball. They're gonna have to play better defense against the in the field shooting. They're gonna have to rebound better. It's a lot. I know it sounds like a lot, but conference play is always a different animal, especially in the SWAC. So a lot of these numbers will look better by each team as the season goes on. So I fully expect this to be a competitive game. This this will be the second conference game for each team. Southern has the opportunity to make a nice little move in the conference. If they can pull out 2 wins at this point, then they find themselves sitting at a 2-0 record and in a good position heading into their first road trip of the season. Prairie View definitely cannot afford to if they drop the game at Grambling, they cannot afford to drop this game here. So it's very important that this is a very important game to both teams, especially early in the season. I expect this to be a very tough game for both teams. I think they'll both go out and play hard, but I just statistically right now, it's hard for me to go against Prairie View right now. I think Southern's shooting just makes me nervous right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to score as much as they need to in a lot of these games to win right now. Now, like I said, these numbers can get better, but at this point, just going off of what we have at this point before we get to conference play, it's hard to say that this is going to be a game that Southern can control with their offense because the offense right now is not existent. So I really I'm gonna go with Prairie View in this game. I think it will be an entertaining game. I think Southern will have their opportunities, but I just don't have the confidence in their offense right now to give them the victory in this one. So I'm going with Prairie View in this to win this game, and we'll see how they do in their first 2 games of the season before they have their first homestand. So that does it for the women's side of things. We'll switch over to the men. As I said in the last episode, if you're not aware, the SWAC does double headers, men and women. You play the same opponents. So in the schedule is the same. Alabama A&M at Valley, Alabama State at Pine Bluff, Grambling hosts Texas Southern, and Prairie View is at Southern. So our featured men's game would be UAPB and Alabama State. Alabama State is coached by former Cleveland Cavalier and Alabama Crimson Tide player Mo Williams. So I expect this team to be very, very good. I don't know if they'll be top half of the conference good, but I think they'll be a team that's going to be really tough. And it's tough to play in Montgomery, and they have a really tough home environment. So they can get some games at home, then they'll get themselves opportunity. They've been young the last couple of years, so I think they're coming up. Pine Bluff's an interesting team. They did have that issue early in the season with their coach making them run um, during the season, during the game, and everybody thought that was pretty funny, and some people thought that was pretty bad. But this team is what it is. They're a team who, again, they have a tough home environment. It's tough to play at Pine Bluff in that arena. It's tough to get wins there. So sometimes they play better at home than they do on the road. So this is a matchup of two teams who probably are going to end up splitting in the regular season. Maybe whoever can steal a home, their road victory will probably win this series. But Alabama State right now, they're averaging 64 points per game on offense. They're allowing 80. Again, they're 1-11, so they played a very tough schedule right now. At this point, they're being outscored by an average of 15.9 points per game. They're shooting 23% from 40% from the field and have made 23 field goals. The opponents are shooting 44% from the field. They've made 28 field goals per game. 3-pointers, they're shooting 29%. They make 5.7 threes per game. They've shot 234 threes at this point. They're not shooting well from three. That's something that's probably going to have to improve as well. The opponents are 104 of 318 from three-point land for 32%. They're making 8 threes per game. They're shooting 68% from the free throw line. The Hornets are an average of 11 free throws per game. The opponents 73%. They're making an average of 15 free throws per game. Rebounding, Alabama State is averaging 34.3 rebounds per game. The opponents 39.5. That's an average of negative 5.2. Not a bad margin when you look at some of the teams that they've played this year. They've hung in there on the boards. So that's something I think that'll be a good factor for them in conference play. I think they'll rebound better in conference play. Assists 9.8 per game, 15.9 assists for the opponents. So they're not really sharing the ball, but that's a byproduct of not really shooting well at all times. They are averaging 18.6 turnovers per game, and they're scoring 14.5 points off of opponents' turnovers. Opponents are averaging 14.1 turnovers per game, and they're scoring 19.4 points off of Alabama State's turnovers. Steals, Alabama State has 7.4 steals per game. The opponents 8 steals per game. Blocks 4.2 for the Hornets per game, and opponents 4.5. So those numbers are pretty even. Individually, they're led in scoring right now by Gerald Liddell. He's averaging 11.7 points per game. Right now, he's the only double-digit scorer, although Trace Young is close. He's at 9.6, so he can easily be a double-digit scorer. Jordan O'Neal, 8.1 points per game. Kenny Strawbridge, that's a guy who can score the ball. He has 8 points per game right now. Juan Reyna, 7.8. Isaiah Range, 7.7. Christian McCray, 7.4. So they have 4 or 5 guys who can score. They just haven't really lit it up yet, but they have some capable guys who can score. They're going to be another balanced type of team. We haven't really seen too many teams at this point that has the one guy that scores like 15 and then everybody else at like 8. So it's just a pretty balanced team at this point. Field goal percentage, McCray shooting 56% from the field, O'Neal 54, Liddell 45, Young 41, Range 41, EJ Clark 40%, Kenny Strawbridge 40%, Jamie Mitchell 40%. Right now, the leading 3-point shooter is Liddell. He's shooting 42%, McClellan 33%, Rayner 32%, Young 32%, Range 25%. Free throws, Young 84%, Stewart 80%, Barber 76%, Liddell 70%. The leading rebounder right now is Jordan O'Neal. He's averaging 5 rebounds per game, followed by Liddell with 4.8, Range 4.6, Strawbridge 4.6, Young 4.1. All pretty even numbers, offensive rebounding. O'Neal leads the team with 1.9 offensive boards per game. Leading assist man is Strawbridge, 1.8 assists. Also, Liddell, 1.8, and Jackson, 1.8. Steals, the leading steal man is DJ Jackson. Leading block man is O'Neal, 1.4. So this team, they're pretty balanced in a lot of their numbers. They don't have a lot of guys who gonna just dominate the points. The season high in points is 82 this year. They scored that they they scored that against Iowa. So they really put up some points in that game. Individually, Trace Young had the highest point total on the season. He scored 23 for them in a game. He made nine field goals in that game. Warren Rayner made four 3-pointers as the most for this team. So as you can see, they don't really have a lot of crazy numbers, but they will score. They have had a high scoring affair against a Power Five opponent. They lost to Iowa 108 to 82. So that's not a bad score. I mean, being able to put up 82 points against Iowa is a good thing. Of course, you give up 108. That's by far the most they've given up all season. After that was 93 to Dayton and 91 to Vanderbilt. So they played pretty decent defense for the opponents that they played, but they haven't really scored a lot of points. So this should be a very tough game for them to go to Pine Bluff. Like I said, Pine Bluff is one of those places that is really, really tough to play at. Sometimes, regardless of how good or bad this team is, they will play very tough at home, and you expect the unexpected when you go there. So we're gonna take a look at what Pine Bluff can do right now. They have not had the best of seasons, but they should be a good factor in this season. If they can steal a couple games early in this season, they'll give themselves a better opportunity to win some games. Um, we'll see how they do. My computer is a little slow right now, so y'all just kind of bear with me. I'm trying to get these numbers up, but right now, um, I think we haven't really seen a lot from Pine Bluff. Like I said, they have a new coach as well, and he has had quite an interesting tenure early. He had the situation where they had the whole um, running in the game. I've talked about that many times before. So, um, for whatever reason, my numbers are just not being where they need to be right now. My computer is definitely not doing what I wanted to do. So we're not gonna really dive too deep into Pine Bluff at this point. So I'm gonna with all that being said, it's kind of hard to really make a fair opinion on this. So I think Alabama State. I like them a lot. I mean, I like Mo Williams as a coach. He's doing a pretty good job with his team, and he's getting those guys ready to play. And he has a good mentality of playing defense first, and he has some capable guys who can score. They just don't have that, knockdown shooter from outside right now. But that if they can play well at home, which is the formula for everybody to me is to play well at home and win on the road as many as you can, you'll find yourself in good position. So I like Alabama State in this game mainly because I think they have a better product at this point to me. Looking back at the past season, I think Alabama State's always been kind of in the mix. They're always like that 5, 6, 7 seed, so they can find themselves in a position that they can win some games. And lo and behold, my numbers are here. Thank you, God. 6.63 points per game for Pine Bluff. 80 points allowed for them. Um, Pine Bluff is shooting 38% from the field. They're making 22 field goals per game. The opponents are shooting 50% from the field. That's a number that I can see your coach making you run at halftime. 29 field goals made per game for the opponents. Palm Bluff shooting 28% from three-point land. They're making 7.5 threes per game. They've shot 346 threes per game, so they've shot quite a few threes. They just aren't making any. The opponents 106 to 284 for 37%. They're making 8.2 threes per game. Free throws 73%, 11.9 free throws per game. 13.2 free throws per game for the opponents and 72%. Rebounding, Palm Bluff's getting out rebounded 39.8 rebounds per game from the opponents and 28.5 for the Golden Lions. That's an average of minus 11.3. So they're getting out rebounded by the 11 rebounds per game. 10 assists per game for the Golden Lions and 16 for the opponents. Turnovers, 14 turnovers per game for Pine Bluff and 13.6 for the opponents. That's a margin of minus 0.4. Pine Bluff has 14.8 points off of turnovers. The opponent 17.1. Pine Bluff 6.5 steals per game. The opponent 7.2. 2 blocks per game for Pine Bluff and 3.5 for the opponents. Individually, they're led in scoring by Sean Williams. He's averaging 14 points per game. 12.4 for Daquan Morris. Trey Sampson, 12.3. Kylan Milton, 11 points per game. Brandon Brown, 10 points per game. So 5 guys in double digits. So this team can, they have some guys who are very capable scorers, have 5 double-digit scores. Again, anybody can hurt you, but Williams is the guy to definitely keep an eye out on. He's one of those journeyman type of dudes that's been around, and he definitely has skills. So you want to know where he's at all times. So they have any number of guys that can hurt you. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out on all season. Williams is shooting 35% from the free throw line. From the 3-point line that leads the team right now. Milton 30%, Morris 25% from the field right now. Morris 52%, Brown 48%, Stokes 43%, Parchman 43%, Sampson 41%, Doolittle 41%. Free throws, Williams 92%, Stokes 90%, Sampson 80%. Rebounding, their leading rebounder right now is Brandon Brown at 8 rebounds per game, 2.7 offensive boards per game, also leads the team. Sampson 5.1 rebounds, Milton 3.5 rebounds, and Harris 2.5 rebounds. The leading assist man is Sean Williams, 3.8 assists per game. Again, he's a baller, man. If you want an underrated guy in this league that you want to keep an eye on him is Williams. He's a guy who can play, man. He can score a lot of points. He can dish the ball, and he can shoot from range. So keep an eye out on him throughout the season. He's the leading assist man by far. Brandon Brown, 1.8 assists per game. Steals, Morris, two steals per game. Brown, 1.8 blocks. Trey Sampson, 1.1 blocks per game. So this game shapes up to be this should be a good game. I think these two teams, they get it done in different ways. Pine Bluff is a balanced scoring team. They have 5 guys in double digits. Alabama State has only 1 double digit guy, but they have quite a few guys who can step up and hurt you. I like the Strawbridge Williams matchup should be a pretty good backcourt matchup to keep an eye on. Kenny Strawbridge can score. He hasn't really stepped up that much this year, but he's capable. And like I said, Sean Williams is a guy who can go off on you at any time. He actually has a 31-point game this year against Portland, so he can score, man. He had a 6 3-point made game against Colorado State, so you have to keep your eyes on him at all times. 7 rebounds, 7 assists is his season high. So this is a guy who can get it done. So if you want to control Pine Bluff, you need to keep Sean Williams in check. And I think Alabama State's defense should be able to do that. But this game is in Pine Bluff, so I'm going with Pine Bluff strictly on that fact. I think they would play better at home. I think the crowd would be energetic. It's going to be a close game. I can actually see this being like an overtime type of game or 1 or 2 possession game at the end. So I like Pine Bluff to pull this one out. And we'll recap this game on Sunday. So we'll see how this game goes on Wednesday. Again, we will recap the Monday games on Wednesday and preview the Saturday games on Wednesday. And then we'll recap Wednesday's games on Sunday and preview. Well, whatever. I get it all backwards, but we'll recap. We'll we'll recap the Saturday games on Sunday and preview the Monday games on Sunday. So it's a lot to take in, and we'll get this all ironed out as we go week by week, because this is the first time I'm really doing basketball in this in depth. So this is going to be quite an affair, man. I appreciate y'all taking this journey with me. The tour is over, man. Y'all can hop off the tour bus, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday with another edition of SWAC Talk. I'm Steve Wells, signing out. Peace.